Hi KJ gang, welcome back. Well, I guess it's kind of me that's coming back because you guys have been here following, subscribing. I see y'all. But yes, I am back. If you saw my last video, I can already tell you that things took a huge turn. In today's video, we're gonna get all in detail. I'm gonna fill you guys in on exactly what happened, where I've been, why my eye looks like this and this, what's been going on with me, what happened to me, all of the drama, all of the tea. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the series finale of A Day in the Life with Graves, okay? Okay, so first of all, let's do a recap of what happened on the last episode. If you guys have been kind of keeping up with all of these different A Day in the Life with Graves specifically, I've been going through, you know, losing my vision. I got diagnosed with the thyroid disease. It caused my eyes to start getting really big. Then they were watering all the time. So then couldn't do makeup videos anymore. And then appointment after appointment after appointment. Then in the very last episode, the most recent episode, I went and got a CAT scan and had to go get some extra labs. And that was kind of when things really started to shift for your girl. That's when things started getting dramatic. That's what happened with the last episode. That was kind of the last update that I gave you guys. And this is where things went crazy. So let's get into it. Right away, after I posted that video, literally the next day, I believe, I went to work, and at about like an hour before, maybe like 30 minutes right as I was getting off the clock, and I was helping clean up whatever, I got a message from my mom, and she was like, hey, you need to go to the ER, it's an emergency. And I'm thinking it's my mom. I'm like, oh no, something's happened. Like, oh, I'm panicked. Come to find out, my doctor had ended up texting me after the CAT scans from the last episode. He calls me, we go and we have a conversation, and basically, y'all, the tea is I was about to be blind. Like, he was basically like, if you don't go to the emergency room right now, you are going to be blind permanently and we won't be able to fix your eyes. So get to the ER. So I get off work and I'm like, blind permanently forever? Oh my God. Basically, if you can imagine, like, I was pretty shook up. So at this point, I grabbed my stuff. I'm like, I gotta go right now. And I'm trying to get off work and they wouldn't even let me out the building. So I'm like throwing a huge tantrum, like a whole hissy fit, embarrassing myself, being dramatic as I am. And I'm like, my mom wanted to know what happened. So this is basically what happened. So at my job, they have to like press the button to unlock the door. And so at the end of our shift at night, all of us end up piling into this storage room and we wait for them to press the button to let us out the door. But because everybody was still upstairs, I was like the only one. So I'm sitting there and I'm pressing the button. I'm like, let me out. She wouldn't let me out. Then all these other people, it's been like a whole extra 10, 15 minutes at this point, and she still would not let me out. Like, she would not press the button. So at this point, I'm losing my mind. I'm like, I gotta go to the emergency room now. I'm kicking on the door. I'm like banging on the door. I'm pulling on the door. I'm pressing the button. I'm like, she won't let me out. I don't understand why I can't be let out. This is ridiculous. Let me out. Let me out. I made such a scene that like one of the ladies was like, let's just call the customer service. So we call the customer service and the lady thinks I'm a customer. And I'm like, no, I work here. This is why I'm trying to get out of here. Like, press the button. So she presses the button, I get out. We go to the emergency room and I'm like freaking out at this point because I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, how can I be blind? And basically the stipulation was that if I didn't, based off the CAT scan that he had got, if I hadn't gone to the ER that night, like, he didn't believe my vision would last like a day to a week. He was like, within a day or the next week, you won't have your vision. So that's why we had to go that night. And then, mind you, this isn't even my main doctor. This is that vision doctor that I went to go see in that particular video, who, by the way, isn't even like in the States. He's on vacation until like August 11th. So he's not even here, and he's like calling me. He had his, like, the doctor lady, like his office had to call me. Like, all of them were like, go to the ER. So we go to the ER and we're waiting in the waiting room. And then that night I get put on some steroids, I get my COVID test, and they're basically like, oh, okay. I go through all of this and I have to get another CAT scan And then they committed me to the hospital, and then I stayed there for the next 3 to 4 days. It was, all of that happened within like a night, like 24 hours. My life literally was like, ooh, ooh. So after the CAT scans, after the COVID test, after the, I had to get some more blood drawn. After all of that, I went to the hospital that night, and I stayed there for the next 3 to 4 days. If you guys are following me on Instagram, I'll put it right here. I kind of like walked everybody through and answered questions while I was in the hospital about like the hospital food and stuff like that. And it's still on my page under my health tab. So go check it out if you wanted to see that part. But yeah, the hospital for like 3 to 4 days. My nurses were really nice. Then, y'all, this is the story, man. So then, on like the 4th day, they're like, okay, the steroids still aren't working well enough. You're gonna have to go into surgery. So I'm like, surgery? Okay. So they let me out that day, and then I was supposed to like wait like 2 or 3 days, and then my surgery. So I got home once they discharged me or whatever. Mind you, let me tell y'all something. Hospital medications. I ain't never hated a doctor so much in my life, but we'll get back to it. We'll get back to the hospital medications. Okay, expensive. Why I gotta pay to live? It's really, you know. Let's get on. Let's move on. After that, I go home, and then the next day, I'm like, I was supposed to go to work, but I really wasn't feeling good that morning. I don't know. I just wasn't feeling good. I didn't want to go. So I ended up staying home, and come to find out, this lady calls my phone from the hospital. Y'all, please stick with the story. This lady calls my phone from the hospital, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to come back up here. We had a test that was inconclusive. Yeah, you gotta come back up here. And I'm like, inconclusive test, baby? What's up? So me and my mom drive back up to the hospital the next day, into like a different part or whatever, and we meet with this lady, and y'all, I really, like, listen to me, okay? So we go back to this lady, and she's like, I'm like, what's going on? At first she's like, she wouldn't let my mom come back with me or nothing. And I'm like, okay, what's this confidential information that you're trying to tell me? She brings me back to this room, and she goes, so your test was inconclusive for HIV. We think you may have HIV. And I'm like, HIV where? And I'm like, and I look at this man, I look at her, and I'm like, you have to touch a man to have HIV. You have to have a man. You have to have been touched by a man at some point to have HIV, ma'am. I'm Jane the Virgin up here. There is no, how can I have HIV? What? Excuse me? No. So then my mom, like, she was like, you want to bring your mom? I'm like, yes, bring my mother in, because this is a lie. Don't put this on me. Like, I was really shooken up about this, y'all, because not necessarily because of the disease, but just from the concept of me having not been touched and having contracted a disease from men. It wasn't making any sense to me. I was like, how is this happening? How can I keep getting these diseases out of nowhere? Like, what's going on to my life? I don't understand. And I was walking, after she tells my mom whatever, and then that day I have to do another HIV test before I go into surgery. So I did the HIV test, and I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. this don't make no sense. At this point in my process, I'm laughing now, but at this point in my process, I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. this don't make no sense. And I'm like, you know, at this point in my process, I'm laughing now. I was really down, like, emotional about all of this, because it was just seemed like the world was just, I couldn't get a break. Everything was falling apart. Nothing was making sense. And I was just truly devastated by everything that was happening. The surgery, like, being in the hospital, like, all the insulin shots I had to get to keep monitoring my blood sugar, all the labs I had to keep doing. I had to stay on the IV, all of that. And I'll post pictures that I have. But the process was really strenuous, guys. And not nowhere near what as bad as I thought it would be. In those last couple days in the hospital, I was really ready to go home, because I felt like it had been 3 days, and I wanted to create content, and I wanted to be out of the hospital. I didn't want to be in the bed anymore. I just wanted to go home. But then the next step of my process was even more complicated, and I had no idea that was coming until I found out. So after the HIV test, we go home, and I'm like, you know, my world is falling apart. And she still doesn't call. And then the next day I go into surgery. So it's like, dang. I had been on all of this IV, the surgery, and then I go into surgery and she's like, you know, you're like the youngest person we've had to do the surgery on, and all of this, yada, 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 yada. We do all the prep work for getting ready, the aesthetics, I will say this, I felt like I wasn't on a telenovela. Yes, I was still worried about the HIV for sure, but let me tell y'all something. My surgeon looks like a fine Aladdin. So in my mind, I'm like, if I was where I used to be, I would be beautiful. So don't take how I look on this hospital bed as my full potential, okay? To marry a doctor, wow, that would be great. But anyway, y'all. Anyway, so besides the fine doctor and my little telenovela drama, that's when the telenovela, the romance, all of it was dead. Because after that surgery, baby, all of, like, my the surgery, the after process, that recovery process. I mean, I was walking around here like Quasimodo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like, you could not get more beat up. Mike Tyson came in here and rocked my, I mean, I was in a fight with Mayweather and I lost, okay? Everything that could have gone wrong, like with my eye, that's what it looked like, okay? And I'll insert some pictures. I'm gonna put like a trigger or sensitive image warning or whatever. It's nothing like bloody, but we came a long way. Started from the bottom. I literally cannot emphasize how crazy this whole process has been. So yeah, then there was the recovery, the healing, then there was the recovery process, and then after that, literally like 3-4 days later, I went back to work. And the day I went back to work, 3 or 4 days later, because all of this happened in a week. So then the next day I had to go back, which was like a Tuesday, I believe. I get a call as I'm literally about to walk into my job from the lady. Hello, ma'am. Yeah, your test came back negative. You don't have HIV. And I'm like, I said, say it again so my mother can hear you. She right here. I put the lady on speakerphone. And I had to tell her again because, y'all, I was stressing about this, okay? I was stressing about this. So mind you, this whole time, after the surgery, after the healing, after recovery, I'm still waiting to hear back from this HIV test because in my mind, I'm thinking, even if all of this goes well, I could still have this disease. And I wanted to kind of touch on this really quickly. This whole concept wasn't necessarily an animosity towards the HIV or having the disease. It was just the simple fact that I already have a disease. Another immunal disease on top of the immunal disease I already have. Like, I'm really worried. Like, this is dangerous. This is deadly. Like, something could seriously be wrong. If I already have an autoimmune disease and another one, I'm ruined. In my mind, I'm thinking after the surgery, like, life is still going to be falling apart for me. I'm looking at ways to content this and, like, you know, help other people, which does remind me, I want to point out, I'm going to put the link right here for anyone that may, you know, if you're out there living your life, live your life, but be safe about it. And if you don't know, or if you have questions, or if you're unsure and you want to get tested, this website right here, just because this is how stubborn I am. I found this website because I was gonna bring my own test kit to this lady and show her that there was no way I could have this disease. I ordered this test kit to test for HIV. It was completely free. It was completely discreet. They sent it to you in the mail. It came literally in like 2 to 3 days. It has an HIV test. You test yourself and they send it. You send in the results. They send it back. Boom. Live your life, but be safe. That's all. All love, but be safe. And just be knowledgeable and inform yourself and be aware. I think that's a lot of things with people with contracting diseases simply because you didn't know, you weren't aware. And once you get it, there's a lot of panic and guilt and shame and hate. But it's like, you know, what the heck? You know, I don't even know what this is. I don't even know how this happened. What is this? I didn't have to use the kit because I was negative, so it worked out. But in any other time, it would have been great to, you know, for someone else, you know, is there. So then after the HIV test came back negative, I was like on the up and up. I'm like, okay, eyes look crazy. I had to go to work with the eye patch literally on my eye, but I went in there. I went to work, just did my thing with the little eye patch on and been working ever since. Now, I did go into my appointment yesterday, got to see my surgeon. Hey, hey. I felt like Trudy from the Parkers. I mean, the Proud Family. And he basically checked my eyes. Status updates. So as far as where I am now, I'm not blind anymore. I can see a lot better. I can see myself while I'm filming. Yay! But my eyes are, like I said, I'll take the glasses off for a quick second. Y'all have already seen the gruesome stuff. So right now, this one is just how my eyes are supposed to be. Let me cover it. This one is how my eyes are supposed to be before they got bad. As you can see, the stitches, this is how it's healing. And then this is how the other one, I'll be having the second surgery probably in November. Hopefully a little earlier, but we'll see. That's just where I am right now. As far as content, I'm still gonna be trying to make content, but hide my eye, obviously, just because aesthetics, we like aesthetics. We want it to look good. I'm just gonna try to find creative ways to incorporate. So follow me on Instagram. I'd love the support, and I have big things coming. So really, please stay tuned to my Instagram because I'm gonna be launching stuff like, I got big things coming. This does not stop me. Nothing will stop me. I was making photos when I was blind. I'm making photos post-surgery, and I'm gonna keep doing photos after surgery. You know why? Because I love it. I love spreading light and positivity and just creating content for you guys. I'm so excited to be back on YouTube. I'm so excited to be making more videos. I have so many planned. All I was doing in the hospital was planning. All I have been doing while recovering is planning. So when I say I have so much stuff planned for you guys, I'm so excited to show you guys. So excited to keep connecting with you guys. We're about 5 subscribers away from 250. So if you could share this with a friend, they want to join in on the drama of this reality story time, please do. I would love to hit 250 subscribers and 500 by my birthday, just because I want to expand the KJ gang as much as possible and build our whole little family. Okay. With that, that is all for today's video. And this has been On KJ's World. This is the special series finale, story time, a day in the life with Graves. This has been KJ's World, KJ Radiant. Love yourself, love others, and always be radiant and unique.